Hello and welcome in. I am Greg Smith, Senior Recruiting Analyst here at Inside Nebraska. I am joined by staff writer, also of Inside Nebraska, Steve Marik. And Steve, I was going to say we saw football practice. We definitely did not. We saw post-practice availability today, and it was defensive day again. We had Erik Chinander spoke, so did Travis Fisher. We had a smattering of players. Tommy Hill, we had Stephon Wynn Jr., Colton Feist talked, and so did Ochaun Mathis, kind of the man of the hour, and Nick Henrich. Can't forget the veteran that also spoke in there as well. I guess you listened quite a bit to Erik Chinander, defensive coordinator. I guess what were your takeaways from what he had to say? Yeah,
he said kind of the first question, the thing that everybody kind of wanted to know was how that scrimmage went on Saturday. And, you know, Erik, he said, you know, there's a lot of good, there's a lot of bad, kind of what you would expect the defensive coordinator to say. But he said, yeah, right now the defense is working on really communication is kind of a big thing that they're working on, getting lined up correctly, knowing the calls, knowing where you're supposed to go, knowing the assignments and adjustments needed. So that's an ongoing process, but it's to be expected. It's still in the middle of the fall camp. But yeah, he kind of went on to say that he would still like to see some certain players separate themselves and maybe make it an easier decision on understanding who the first team defense is going to be and maybe who the backups are going to be. So he said he's still wanting to see some separation from some players and some players emerge. But then he went on to some really cool nuggets, I thought, about just he went through basically all the levels of the defense and talked about who was standing out, who was doing well, what specific players are doing specific things well. So that was really cool.
And one of the things that, and I want to pick your brain here specifically on that interior defensive line, right?
Yeah.
Because that comes up quite a bit on the Insiders board. You guys really love to know like what's happening with that interior defensive line, particularly what's happening after, besides Ty Robinson, right? And we got to hear from a couple of those guys today, but I guess we'll start here before we get to the guys. What did Chins have to say about those interior defensive linemen?
Yeah, the two that caught my eye was the discussion points about Nash Hutmacher and Stephon Wynn Jr., the transfer from Alabama. Yep. Right now, Chinander said that Nash Hutmacher is just a little bit ahead of Stephon Wynn from a knowledge standpoint. And once Wynn, the longer he's here, the more he studies the game, the more he gets into the film room and watches and understands what he's supposed to do on a given snap, a given rep. You know, once he gets to that level where Nash is at right now, there's going to be two solid defensive interior linemen in front of Luke Reimer and Nick Henrich at linebacker, and that's going to be a big thing to watch this season. Is, you know, they had a lot of good guys, Ben Stilley, Damian Daniels, DeAndre Thomas, a good rotation at that.
Veteran guys.
Yeah, for sure. Veteran, strong guys who have played a lot of snaps of football. You go from that to Stephon Wynn Jr. and Nash Hutmacher, who don't have the same experience. So it's kind of just, we're going to have to see how that plays out during the season. But right now, it just looks, I guess, like I want to say like maybe a controlled kind of optimism, if that makes sense. Just kind of those two guys, along with Colton Feist too. Colton Feist got talked about a lot. What a story that kid has a chance to write. Just coming back, injury plagued during his whole career basically. He's healthy now, and he's just looking good. He's looking good as a walk-on from UTAN. The message board likes to call him the Utanimal. I kind of like that. I kind of like that myself too.
Yeah, you got to root for that.
Yes, absolutely. But you know, with that core foundation at the interior, along with Ty Robinson, I think there's a chance for the interior D linemen to really kind of pick up where they left off with some new faces from last year.
Yeah, and it's really interesting that the two of the guys that you mentioned there, or all three, Nick, Stephon Wynn, and Colton Feist, the Utanimal, that's going to stick with me.
It is.
All three of those guys spoke today, right?
Yeah.
And one of the things that both Wynn Jr. and Feist both mentioned is that kind of that knowledge of the playbook and getting ready to be able to contribute in a bigger way than they had been either at the previous stop in Wynn Jr.'s case, or in just here with the injuries, as Feist said. And Feist talked about, you know, that jump that he had to make, you know, from playing high school football here in Nebraska to then and walking on to then coming to Nebraska and trying to really be able to break out and show what he can do. If that transition has been interesting, so we'll probably have more on that throughout the week here. But Wynn was interesting as well, just kind of the contrasting the differences between being at Alabama and being here. And Chins, I also heard him say that Wynn came over with really good habits, right? Like his hand placement. to be expected.
Not
right?
surprising. Not surprising where he came from.
Yeah, he definitely came over with good fundamentals and knowing what to do. But now it's just getting up to speed. And I think if you're him, you're probably encouraged by hearing a coach say that that's the thing. The only thing that's holding you back right now is that knowledge of the playbook, because that will come. Were there any other things that stood out to you from today?
So the edge defenders, and we got our first look with Ochaun Mathis, and boy, was I really impressed with him. Like we saw all the social media stuff during his recruiting process out of the transfer portal. He was very just on social media and doing a lot of stuff along with his family members. His mom is very, very popular on Twitter as well. But once he committed to Nebraska, he kind of just went radio silent.
All of that went away.
All of it went away, and that's exactly what you want to see from a guy of his stature, a highly touted dude, to come in here and just like kind of just put the social media away and understand that, hey, my process is done, it's over, I need to get to work, I need to get in the weight room. He talked about how surprised I think he was about getting to Nebraska and their strength and conditioning program, and how physically and mentally draining it is from all the work that Zach Duvall and everybody puts these guys through. It was not the same at TCU from what Ochaun was saying. But yeah, they said that Ochaun was saying that Erik Chinander has been playing him more on the boundary side right now, which is better for pass rushing. Just you kind of put your top edge rusher on the edge to the short side of the field. But he's not just going to play on the boundary. They're going to move him around, obviously, because there's obviously little guys like Garrett Nelson. You may have heard of him,
and I heard that guy.
and Caleb Tanner, who's also just had a really good season last year and is kind of expecting more from those two this year. So yeah, that takes up kind of the edge rushers, and then you get to the middle linebackers. Nick was obviously really good. He talked about the rotation that Barrett Ruud wants to kind of do more of. Talked about Garrett Snodgrass, an in-state product from York, a former York Duke, just a veteran, savvy guy who kind of knows the playbook and is, I think the coaches feel comfortable with him out there. But also Etiva Malga-Clemens, the former junior college product. He's got his asset is speed. I think he's good sideline to sideline and just a violent hitter from Luke, what Luke said during his previous post-practice session. Then Ernest Hausman, Ernie. He keeps bringing up. Everybody keeps bringing. Yes, absolutely. Then we went to the Nickelbacks. All three guys, Isaac Gifford, Chris Klarvik, the former linebacker, inside linebacker, and then Javen Wright is working there. All three of those guys, Erik Chinander said, are running with the first team defense. So it's just an ongoing competition to see who emerges and what kind of skill sets, because those three guys bring different sets of
very different.
Absolutely, for sure. So if an offense shows one thing, maybe it's Chris Klarvik out there. If they show another, maybe it's Gifford or Wright. It's just kind of going to be a really interesting process to see, you know, what the offense shows and what Chinander kind of wants to match it with.
Yeah, and I think that to me, well, as we get to the back half of camp here and we start to get in kind of some of those really nitty-gritty, finer details about what's happening with the defense that doesn't have as many, I think, big position battles as maybe the offense does. You've got a lot of pieces to move around on the offense. The defense, you kind of know who the guys are going to be. It's just what order they're going to be and who can get out there. That nickel spot is definitely one that has kind of a lot of intrigue around it, and in part because you saw with JoJo Domann last year, they had a guy that could do everything, all of those parts. Just not going to be likely that you have a guy like that come around. Well, I think the more time goes by, the more we're going to learn that JoJo was a once in 10, 15-year type of a player around here for what he became at Nebraska. But they're going to try and figure that out, and I think that's one of the real intriguing storylines for the defense going into this season. Yeah,
I think we're learning right now that JoJo Domann was an incredible tool for Erik Chinander out there. That just a one-stop shop to just do everything out there, run support, pass defense, really everything. We didn't hear, at least I didn't hear too much about the defensive backfield, but we did get to see a little bit of Tommy Hill, who was in a position battle with Braxton Clark as the kind of starting opposite of Quentin Newsome at corner. Tommy Hill is a good-sized dude. Yeah. That's the first thing that I noticed, and we knew that before. He's 6 foot, around 200 pounds, and Braxton Clark's not small either. He's 6'4". He's just a massive corner, but. Thoughts on Tommy Hill and kind of what he brings to the defensive defensive back room?
Yeah, what both he and Travis Fisher mentioned about Tommy's game today was consistency, right?
Yeah.
It's just about, like Chinander was saying about some of those guys like Wynn, learning the defense and being able to take what you're seeing in the film room and on the whiteboard and going out there and executing it quickly on the practice field. They got a chance to scrimmage and really kind of get some of those live reps and see how that went, and now you just kind of build on that. And I think that was one of the things that Tommy Hill really talked about, was the ability to see what he did in the scrimmage and then go out there and try to correct that and try to just get faster at doing those sorts of things and making those decisions quickly. I think he's squarely in the mix, and I think that his skill set is one that is needed. He's a confident guy as well. You definitely get that, and you need that from a corner, right? But I think that consistency is the thing that both he and Travis Fisher are looking for at this point.
A direct quote from Chinander on Tommy Hill: every day he flashes. But like you said, it's the consistency factor that Chinander is looking for in that spot opposite Quentin Newsome at corner. So, look, that's going to be a competition all throughout fall camp. Me personally, I wouldn't be shocked if we're seeing a rotation against Northwestern with Tommy Hill and Braxton Clark. Absolutely, and that could be at many positions, running back included. But we're sticking with defense today. So
defensive day.
Yeah.
But hey, that's going to go ahead and do it for us today. Make sure we'll have continued coverage here, both on YouTube. You'll be able to find all of those videos that we just talked about from the different player interviews. We'll have all the coaches that talked today as well right here on the YouTube page. So make sure that you're liking the video, subscribe to the Inside Nebraska YouTube channel. Also, go subscribe, nebraska.rivals.com. We'll have continued written coverage of everything that we've seen so far this week and throughout the rest of the fall camp, as before we know it, the 22 season will be kicking off in Dublin against Northwestern. We will catch you guys next time.
Cool.